I'm a big believer and you need a year for anything to actually like, they told me if you're not happy after a year, Logan, then we'll refund your misery. So I treated FFL the same. I was like, okay, I need to build the skill set. I need to get good at this. Let me give myself a full year. If it doesn't pan out after a year, worst case scenario, I learned something,
I have a special guest, Logan O'Brien. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
So today, I think if you're watching this and you're a struggling agent or you just want to get better, this is going to help you. Logan has issued, he issues on average 80 policies a month by himself, with your highest month at 140 policies, which is crazy. 28 years old, complete animal. You've been doing this for 3 years?
3 years, yep.
And you got what kind of dog you got?
Husky Shepherd mix.
Nice.
Yeah.
And where do you live?
Seattle.
Cool, man.
Yep.
Well, to start, if you could give us a little bit of background about how you got into insurance, and then we're going to get into some sales stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, so I was in the car business before this, and then, when 2020 hit, and after COVID and everything, kind of the whole market kind of tanked. So I was looking for something new in sales, and I stumbled across a couple of your videos from this podcast on TikTok.
Really?
And that's actually what got me involved in this.
And how'd you find someone? You start Googling?
No, I didn't even Google it. It was on my algorithm, and I saw people like on this podcast, and I was like, okay, let me learn more. So then I went over to YouTube, eventually DM'd you, and then I got started.
Crazy, man.
Yeah.
Well, you're doing great. And you're young. You got a bright future ahead of you. What did you learn at the car dealership that helped you here? I'm sure there's a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, really, really just how to like talk to people. I started a detailing business when I was like 15, 16. So I always wanted to like kind of, do my own thing. But right out of high school, I got into car sales, and it just kind of taught me how the sales process works, how to talk with people, how to follow up with people, how to call people and set appointments, and, stuff like that.
And you also learned that you got to go through the numbers and get rejected, right?
Yeah. It's definitely a numbers game. Obviously over time, if you increase your skill set, that becomes a little bit better. But definitely you gotta call those leads.
Yeah.
So.
And then what is said? We went through some stuff earlier, and you said you'd been sober for 8 years.
Yeah, 8 years now. So I got sober actually when I was 20. And after that, I started kind of doing my own thing. I didn't want to go back to the car dealerships, just because, some sales environments can be kind of toxic. So just started doing my own thing with that.
Were you hesitant about family first life?
Not really. I mean, seeing other people and from different backgrounds come here and do well, I was like, okay, well, just like anything else, you put your mind to it, put the time in, then you can be good at it.
What do you do about, like, if obviously anytime you're doing something, there's going to be people hating on you. Did you see any negative reviews, or have you had anybody bring negative reviews up to you, and how do you address that?
Yeah, I mean, the reality is in whatever industry you're in, there's always going to be people that either give up too soon, right? Or they, it's just not a good fit for them, and that's fine.
Yeah.
So like, if any industry you go into, there's always going to be some haters. There's always going to be negative things said.
Especially if you're crushing it.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't hear any of the people doing really well here complaining. So
that's great.
Yeah.
I want to go back to the sober thing. Why'd you get sober?
It's just something I dealt with when I was a teenager. And it just kind of got in the way of me reaching my goals. So, I think it's a huge advantage if someone has that addictive personality, but you have to get addicted to the right things.
Dude, I want to hit on that because,
yeah.
Drew, how many of these podcasts have we done?
Oh, too many.
Episode, I don't know, 300 and something?
Yeah.
We should go back and track it. Dude, I couldn't even tell you how many times the top Hall of Fame producer overcame drugs and alcohol.
Yeah, it's huge.
And I wonder what that is.
Yeah, I think it's just, with a lot of addicts I've seen, I've been to rehab before when I was younger. I've been in, different meetings and things like that. I think a lot of it is just like getting addicted to the right things because, a lot of them are just kind of born, I believe, with, deficiency of dopamine receptors or feel good receptors, people like to call them. But you can get that from doing good things as well. So like working out, helping families, putting in that application, buying those leads,
So
So
blessing or a curse.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I love Max Crosby on the Raiders story
Yeah.
because he was like had all kinds of crazy drug and alcohol
Mhm.
addiction stuff, and he clearly focuses that on football and
Yeah.
doing good, and he's a complete animal now,
Mhm.
But yeah, it seems like people that I talk to that are Hall of Fame producers, a lot of them have that in their past, and then a lot of them are now addicted to helping people and working and doing good, which is so
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and like you said, it's either a blessing or a curse. Another big part of it was just I kind of had like a coming to God moment where, I always felt like he was kind of watching over me in my journey, but I had never been the one to actually ask for help, right? And a lot of, people in recovery or people who struggle with that, they a lot of times they have a big ego where they just want to, try to figure everything out on their own. And a lot of times that doesn't end up working until you actually kind of let that go.
Dude,
So,
you're like the fourth person in the last like week that has said that too.
yeah,
Which is crazy.
that's good. It means we have a lot of people coming in there, doing that. So that's good.
What advice would you give to someone that's struggling now and they want to do better, get better, change their life? It doesn't have to be with that, but struggling with
Yeah.
anything.
I would say, addiction can cover many things, but I would say you have to give it over to a higher power, whether that's, God for you or the universe, or for me, it's Jesus. And secondly, you have to keep yourself busy. Idle time is the
Devil's
biggest enemy.
playground.
Yes, exactly. So my first year getting sober, I went to an AA meeting every day, 5 times a day. That was my job for the first year. So from 20 to 21, I wasn't in a bar. I wasn't at a rave. I wasn't going to concerts. I was just in AA meetings with people that were, 40 plus years old, all day, every day for a year. So I'm a big believer, and you need a year for anything to actually they told me if you're not happy after a year, Logan, then we'll refund your misery. So I treated FFL the same. I was like, okay, I need to build the skill set. I need to get good at this. Let me give myself a full year. If it doesn't pan out after a year, worst case scenario, I learned something.
Dude, that's such good advice.
Yeah, so it's what worked for me. And then the whole God thing, it takes a lot of pressure off of you as a producer and a business owner, because every day I give number one my will over to him, and I give the business over to him. So then all I have to do is show up and put in the work.
Do you have a morning routine?
Yeah, I do actually.
What is it?
It's you wake up. Obviously, I work from home, but take a shower. I don't feel like I'm awake until that happens. Little cold plunge action, or
Do
turn.
you have a cold plunge?
I don't, but I do want one. A cold shower for about 5 minutes.
Ooh.
Get yourself real uncomfortable right away in the morning.
In the middle of winter?
The middle of winter, yeah. And then do my Bible study. That's number one. Give my will of business over to him, and then put down some caffeine and get started for the day.
How long do you do that for?
How long have I done that routine?
No, like what's your Bible study?
Oh, that's 10 minutes.
Oh, so
it's
quick
nothing.
10 minutes.
Yeah, quick 10 minutes. Quick prayer.
Is that like the Bible app or something? What do you use for that?
Oh, just a traditional King James
Just-
Bible. Do my prayer, give it over to him, and get going for the day.
Dude, so the other thing that every single person we've talked to recently
Mhm.
is they have a morning routine,
Mhm.
every one of them, that has to do with workout, meditation, or prayer.
Yeah.
And a lot of them cold plunge,
Yeah.
which I have a cold plunge, and I don't know. It's one of those things that you're excited to get, and then you're kind of like, I kind of wish I didn't have this
Yeah.
because I don't want to get in it.
Yeah, it's definitely uncomfortable, but like with what we do, like the whole day is kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You're like teaching new agents, you're talking to strangers, so like starting your day, I feel like it makes everything else feel a little bit more comfortable in a way.
That's legit. Do you have siblings?
I do, yeah.
How many siblings?
I have one half brother that's older, and then I have a younger sister.
Cool, man. And
Yeah.
girlfriend, wife?
Wife, yeah.
Cool.
High school sweethearts. We've been married almost 12 years now.
And you got a little kid dog.
Yeah, a little kid dog.
A dog that you treat as like a kid?
Yeah, in a way. Yeah.
That's what my wife and I did. We got 2 Boston Terriers, and they're like so spoiled until we had kids. Everyone says that we're like, our dogs will be spoiled when we have kids, trust me. And then we have kids and they're not spoiled anymore.
Right. And my wife, we have a huge family, most of our parties, 30, 40 people, and they all have kids. So we're like literally the last ones. They're just waiting on us to have kids now. So
cool, man. All right. So share with us, how are you doing what you're doing?
Yeah. So my first year, there was a lot of obstacles. Obviously, like most people, I started off with final expense, which is great because there's plenty of leads for that. You can get through the numbers and build that skill set. But for the first 6 months, I was, pretty much just, throwing things at a wall as far as scripts goes and process and leads and just seeing what worked and what didn't, So it's like being a mad scientist in the lab and just trying to figure out, what's going to work. Right. Once I hit my, really after the 6 months, that's when I really started to figure out what my process was, what my lead spend was, and kind of get more consistent as far as that goes. But also like building that skill set to where, my closing ratio went up and all those things. So my first year, I was able to hit Hall of Fame, like barely, like in the last 2 months of the year, I was able to hit it, which was really cool because that was one of my goals. And then, since then, going on my third year now, I do a lot of mortgage protection, still do some final expense, but it's primarily mortgage protection.
IUL?
Yeah, IULs.
You do IULs?
Love them, yeah.
NLG?
NLG, yeah.
I love NLG.
Yeah, they're really good. That's who I have my personal IUL with, and I just love how customizable it is.
Yeah, if you're watching this, get one on yourself.
Yeah.
Because it's a good product. You'll learn it, and then it'll be even better. Someone used to always do this training. It's like, if you're selling Fords, do you drive up to the dealership in a Chevy?
Right.
And then it's kind of like that. It's like, if you're selling it, you should have it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even cost you anything for the first year, really, because you're getting commission on it. And you can use it as a tool. On Zoom, there was an agent in here. He would pull his NLG policy out on Zoom and go, this is the one I have.
Right.
Or even share like the screen and go, look what I have for myself. This is my personal plan. Like, dude, that's powerful.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's a big part of it too. Like, once I got my first policy, I think it was through Americo, I was like way better at selling for some reason over the phone. Just because, I mean, if you have something that you're selling, you're a real believer in what you're doing,
Not only that, I got my first policy at 18. I had a dog, and the beneficiary was my mom.
Yeah.
Okay. But even at 18, with no responsibilities, really, just some, but nothing really, it felt good to have the policy and know that if something happened to me, my mom, who took care of me growing up, would be okay.
Yeah, and that's what I tell people a lot that I talk to on the phone. It's like not everyone does this for themselves. It's like, a gift. And it's like the last thing anyone really wants to talk about or think of. But in most cases, it's like the first thing most families check for, when something happens.
Dude, they go straight for that. Yeah. Justin Au was in here, and he was talking about identity building, which is basically saying, like, it'd be like, Mr. Smith, a lot of people don't do this, but it's cool to see that you're taking care of your family. Even though you're already in a good situation, you're putting your wife in an even better situation, and you're taking care of your kids, because we don't see that a lot.
Yeah.
We oftentimes see people that don't care. They would rather spend $80 a month on beer or cigarettes or whatever. And I just want to say it's cool to see that. And you're building up this identity that they'll live up to, but they deserve to have that praise because that is true.
Yeah.
Right. But what you're saying right now is kind of the same thing. You're saying, like, you tell them a similar thing, like, hey, what you're doing is a gift. Like, it's the greatest gift you could leave because it has nothing to do with you. You won't even be here. You're doing the exact same thing, just in a different way.
Yeah. Yeah, in a way. And, a lot of people, they also have assets, they have debts that they want to make sure are covered. I always make sure that they, have a trust set up too, because a lot of times the houses can go to probate court, and that can take 2 to 5 years depending on the state.
Yeah, that's
So,
huge, man. Okay, so one of your biggest obstacles you said was not putting enough into, not reinvesting enough. Can you
right.
expand on that?
Yeah. So in the beginning, it's like I came from a background where, I had to buy cars at a lower value, negotiate the price down, increase the value, and then resell them for a profit. Right. So I was also already kind of used to investing in that way. And it was even awkward for me to like, pull into the ILC and drop $2,000 on my first lead purchase. So, but once you get used to it, it does get better whether you start off with like, $500 a week or 1,500.
Mm-hmm.
It just kind of depends like how much you're coming in with and how much you can, afford to put up front. But as far as like investing goes now, then you can work yourself up to a point where you're on a consistent campaign and you're investing, $3 to $6 a week.
You're doing that, 3 to 6
Yeah.
grand a week.
Mm-hmm.
Dang. Is that just a mix of everything?
Yeah. So that's mortgage protection, a little bit of final expense, age mortgage protection,
Internet.
Yeah. And then, mortgage protection call-ins where you're on like a weekly retainer.
So you're doing everything.
Yeah, it's good to have.
Was that scary to get to that point? Because like if you tell that to someone and they're brand new, they're like, dude, you're nuts.
Yeah, it's especially if you don't come from a background where you had to put money in to make more money. It can be scary, but scared money doesn't make money, and you have to take calculated risks. So like an uncalculated risk would be like, putting 10 grand into Bitcoin when it's already gone up a bunch. It's like, but a calculated risk would be, hey, worst case scenario on this lead batch is you're going to break even and you're going to learn something.
Well, you could lose your money.
You could. That's possible. And there's been people that have, done that, and I've seen that happen. I like to start my people off with age mortgage protection leads, and I actually like them to dial for me while they're, getting everything set up.
Oh, so their license isn't in yet, and they're dialing, booking for you, so they're kind of training.
In a way, yeah. I like to get them in training as soon as possible, because I'd rather them find out sooner than later that's not a good fit for them.
That's good.
Yeah.
But I could say it wasn't a good fit for me because I sucked for like 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
But I just had this desire to not quit.
Yeah.
I forgot where I heard it, but someone broke down the burning desire to win. And like, I just kind of was like, yeah, I had that.
Yeah. 100%. And that's why my agency name is Motive, because you have to have a why behind whatever you're doing. Yeah. That's what's going to get you up early. That's what's going to, get you through all the rejection that you're going to have to handle. You have to have not just one, but multiple strong whys you're doing it, because it's tough.
Yeah. That's crazy, man. So what is your why?
For me, I'm big on personal freedom, liberty. I just want to be able to kind of do what I want to do. And I think the coolest thing about this business is you get good at it, you build the skill set, you have freedom. You can go to lunch whenever you want. You don't have a boss telling you what to do. Obviously, there's, it takes some discipline to be your own boss.
A lot of discipline.
But I can do cool things like, fly out to Vegas for a couple days, take my wife out here, we go eat some good food.
Is she here?
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Eat some good food. We went to this place last night at MGM. I think it was called Bravette's.
I haven't been there, which is strange.
Really good steakhouse. And it had this kind of old like mafia vibe, which was kind of cool. But just, being able to create your own schedule, do what you want to do. That was a big why for me. And then also when I started this, my wife was still working. So since then I've been able to, take her out of the workplace, and she helps me out with the business, and that's awesome too. So,
that's cool, man.
Yeah. Just to name a few, but also just keeping myself busy, for a lot of people in sobriety. I've seen people get, 3, 4, 5 years sober, and then they get bored, and they get sucked back in because they're not doing something that feeds that.
Well, we're supposed to be working
Yeah.
and progressing.
Yeah.
And if we're not, then it's like you got nothing to do. You're going to overthink.
Yeah, it's kind of tough.
Yeah. That's cool, man. Well, I love what you're doing. I think it's a good example that you're setting, and I'm sure somebody's watching this, and there's multiple different ways that they can relate to you, and this can help them. Was there anybody that you related to in this industry that helped you, like that you kind of looked up to?
Yeah, I mean, obviously your podcast recruited me originally. I just liked I probably watched a couple episodes before I was like, okay, I'm going to do this, because it was cool because I saw people who had zero sales experience come in here and, crush it, which is crazy. And then also it's almost better in some ways if you don't have a sales experience because you don't have any bad habits from previous positions.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of bad habits coming in here. I come from car sales, which is very it's very outgoing and very be your friend. And in the life insurance space, it's a little bit different. And now I'm I would say I'm not as friendly as I was before as far as selling goes. It's almost like
service.
Yeah. It's almost like
service call.
Yeah. Yeah. That type of customer servicey thing. I was very much like that when I started, and I had to get rid of that because it's a lot easier to make sure that family gets protected if at the end of the day, and this might sound blunt, but if you don't care that they get protected or not. And I know that sounds crazy, but a lot of times when you get to a position where you have enough appointments, you have enough leads, they can sense that you don't really care if they get it. Yeah.
Hey, you don't have commission breath.
Right.
Yeah, my issue early was I wouldn't get enough leads to where I would call the same leads over and over again, and then the people would be like, you're annoying. And then I felt like I was annoying people.
Yeah.
And then it bled into my other calls.
Mm.
And then once I was like, oh, I have 35 people to go see, and I would be on the phone with you, and I'd go, hey, if, we got to go, we're going to have to run through this application quickly because I have 29 other people to talk to.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden it's like a different level of respect for you. Mm-hmm. And you don't overthink everything, and you don't have commission breath, which people can sense.
And I've even told people I do everything over the phone. Our team's on Zoom, but we don't do Zoom face-to-face. We just do phone. I've told people, sometimes you get buyer in power and they're just, trying to say that they're busier than you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've literally told people, hey, John, to be completely direct with you, I don't care if you get this or not. I already have mortgage protection on myself. So my family's going to be fine. And a lot of times, 80% of the time, that will turn the whole thing around.
Okay, so I want to hit that. So early on as a new agent, people say, I'm busy. Call me next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Okay, I will. I'm busy. Call me next Wednesday at 7 a.m. Okay, I will. I'm busy. Call me, tomorrow at 5:30 in the morning. Okay, I will. Then I am all over the place, and they don't even answer the phone.
Right.
I had one, when I was in the field, I had one guy, I was at his house at 9 p.m. It was a 3-hour drive. Okay. He was a police officer. He had his wife there. He wanted the policy, but he was hesitant to sign. And he goes, come back on Sunday at 8 a.m. and I'll sign because I need to get my kids in the bath. I was a very timid salesperson. I drive all the way home 3 hours. I drive all the way back on Sunday because I'm like, dude, I might make a couple $1,000s. It's worth it for me to go. I drive all the way back Sunday, get there, knock on the door, not home. Call them, don't answer. And I'm like, dude, I need to have more respect for myself and respect my own schedule. Because I could have just said, dude, let's just do it. I'm here. I'm 3 hours away. You need the protection. Let's just do it. Yeah.
And I think both ways work. I just need to figure out what was going to work for me.
No, both ways don't work.
Well, where you're saying, hey, you really need this, and sometimes some buyers will go, oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But I'm talking more people who are stubborn.
Yeah, but what doesn't work is letting people control your schedule.
Absolutely.
And run you all over the freaking world.
Yeah.
At all crazy hours and times, and you not respect your own calendar.
Yeah.
That doesn't work.
Yeah.
Ever.
Well, also, there's different types of buyers too, and in the beginning, it was really hard to identify that for me. It was okay, who's the shoppers? Who are the buyers in power? Who are the people who are going to say no matter what? And then over time, you just kind of figure out where to group those people into after, a couple minutes of talking to them sometimes.
Oh, so you save time.
Yeah.
So you're just running through.
Yeah, so you can kind of figure out like who you're dealing with, because there's only a certain amount of type of people you're going to talk to,
Yeah. That's cool, man. I always related it to dating early on. Like, my wife was hard to get, and it made me chase her, right? And then I think about like if I was dating and I was available 24/7, I had nothing to do, if that girl would be interested in dating. And I'm like, it's just human nature. It's like, or like if you need a procedure, you want the busiest doctor that everybody goes to because their reputation is they're busy, which means they're the best. Like I want to be that doctor,
100%.
But treat yourself like that. How can somebody do that over the phone? Like, what are some ways they can do it?
Yeah. I mean, first you have to have the mindset of your attitude is everything, especially when you're talking to strangers all day, right? So your attitude has to be on point. Your mindset has to be on point. And then as far as doing it over the phone, it's not who asks the questions that has control. It's who asks the questions and gets an answer. I just had a lady last week who wouldn't answer my questions. So I put my phone on airplane mode and said, call disconnect on her end. And everyone on my team's like, why did you do that? I was like, well, if she's serious, she's going to call me back. Sure enough, 5 minutes later, calls me back. We get her protected. Right? So I got back control in that scenario because I wasn't like in a situation where I was desperate for a
You
point.
just hung up on her?
Well, I did. If you do airplane mode, it'll show up as call failed.
Oh, that's a good hack.
Looks like we got disconnected there. Yeah, so like I was saying, and then we go back, and then I have control because I made her chase me back. Right? But
where'd you learn that at?
I don't know. It's just part of like psychology, like she wasn't answering my questions. So I was like, okay, she must not be interested. If she's serious, she'll call me back.
What are some other ways?
I always so if I'm going through an application, I always ask them, so I already know what their middle initial is. It says on the mailer, but I'm going to re-ask them simple things throughout the process, right? Just to get answers and make it a little more less awkward. So like if we're going in an application, your middle initial's T, right? Okay. And then just make sure I type it in right. Your birthday's this, this, and this.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you said you were born in Tennessee?
Yep.
Okay, great. So I'm asking a lot of questions in the process.
You know the answers too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just to keep that control. Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, close is like you're asking questions that they're going to say yes to before you're closed. They're just used to saying yes.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And then I'm taking away a lot of objections in the beginning so that they don't bring it up in the end.
So good. So for those of you who aren't watching this, those of you watching this is huge. So let's go over some examples of taking away an objection before it actually comes up. So tell me some of the things you do.
So just setting up like what you're actually going to do on the call. So like, Andrew, this isn't some fancy sales presentation. I'm just an underwriter, so I'm just going to go through some basic health questions with you to see what type of plan you might qualify for. And then I'm going to go over some financial parameters to make sure we're looking at plans that are affordable. If we can find you a plan that makes sense, then we can discuss possible next steps as far as applying goes, okay?
Okay.
So just that's a simple example of just setting expectations so they're, know what to expect.
Yeah. My whole thing to take away objections is always like this. It's like, hey, Logan, what we're going to do today is find something that is going to fit your needs, which means it's going to cover your family. If you don't wake up tomorrow, they'll be protected. It's going to, and it's also going to fit your budget, which means it's going to be super affordable for you. And if we can do that, then you can't have it right away. We need to see if you qualify. But what we're going to do is we're going to fill out an application and we're going to collect 1 month premium to see if we could get you approved. Are you okay with that process?
Yes.
And then to me, the sale is always really early on.
Yeah.
And any objections usually would come up there. And then my goal is just to fit their needs and their budget. And usually that makes them feel comfortable because they know what's going to happen. Like I went to I hate going to car dealerships, by the way.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's a common thing for people, but
Mhm.
it's just like, dude, I don't want to talk to the guy in the back that wants to sell me all this stuff and you don't know what they're putting on the report. And it's just like, dude, text me the stuff and send me the car.
It's so outdated.
That's my style.
Yeah.
It's like, text me the stuff and send me the car.
Yeah.
Now, on the phone, knowing that, like, the reason I don't like going to car dealerships is because I don't know what they're gonna do, and it's always like I need to talk to the manager, and it's like this whole show, right?
Yeah.
So, if I could tell you right up front over the phone what I'm going to do on the call, then you're not wondering what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, and I just try to get that out of the way fast. Is that what you do?
Exactly. And I like the point you made too there before, hop in application. It's like, hey, I mean, don't get too excited. This isn't something we can necessarily like buy today, even if we wanted to, just because the carrier has to think about you.
Yeah.
Right. So all we're going to do today is, and then so on and so forth. So.
And then I've always like thrown in like, hey, so if we do get you approved, you do qualify. Then when you go to sleep at night, you'll know if you don't wake up, your two kids and your family are going to have a roof over their head. And that's the whole point of doing this. And it's something that most people don't do, which is really cool that you're looking out for your family and you want to do something like this. Like, I'm detailed. It's not, they're going to give you $42,000 if you die and you're going to pay $20 a month. There's a big difference between those two things. Do you do anything like expanding on things like that?
If I need to, yeah. So like some people you talk to are going to have a hard time realizing they're going to die someday. So it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And I understand this is the last thing, like I said earlier, is most families want to talk about, but none of us are getting out of here alive, right? So it's a matter of when and if, you want to make sure that your son, your daughter, your wife is financially taken care of. Because the last thing they need while they're grieving is financial pressure, right?
Yeah.
I'll say something along those lines if they're having trouble grasping it. And sometimes you have to walk people through that, because no one's ever talked to them about it and they've never thought about it.
I mean, yeah, I guess so. Yeah. But a lot of this is timing. That's why I think any lead's a good lead, because like somebody could just have somebody pass away that they know, or they can have social media, which scares the crap out of everybody, really.
Yeah.
Like, because all this crazy stuff pops up. But a lot of it's just timing. So someone may not have been as interested in it 3 months ago, but they are now because their neighbor went to the hospital last night or whatever it is. Have you found that timing to be big?
Yeah, timing's huge. I mean, sometimes the why is stronger with age leads than brand new ones.
Yeah.
Just because they've had more time to realize it and then think about it.
Yeah. That's cool. Okay. Do you do any other investing, or are you mainly investing in building your agency?
So I'm the type of guy, I'm like 100% all in on one thing, which
like that.
It's sometimes a downside, but no, I like to focus on one thing and get really good at one thing.
So if someone wanted to work with you, how could they reach you?
Yeah, just Instagram at the Logan O'Brien, DM me. We'll get on Zoom. And
if they like, okay, I want to run through this.
Okay.
Let's say you're a struggling real estate agent.
Okay.
You could get your life insurance license. How hard is it to get?
It's easier than a real estate license in most states.
And then they can work part-time or full-time.
Yeah.
And then they join you on Zoom. You show them how to get leads.
Yep.
How much money do they need to start, technically?
I mean, if they're the right person, I'll start them with leads.
If they're hungry, you'll start them with leads.
Yeah.
They don't need any leads. Okay. They can make their own schedule, part-time, full-time, work from home on Zoom with you.
Yeah.
In a virtual office.
7 days a week.
7 days a week.
7 days a week. So my favorite days are Sunday and Saturday.
Okay. Now they could work Hawaii. They could work all these different states.
Yep.
They can work different time zones around their schedule. And so they have that. Now you don't even have to, like, technically, like, this is the first thing that came to my mind when virtual came out. You could be disabled. You could have a headset on. You could have let's say you can't be in your industry because you hurt your back. You can have a headset on. You could be calling people. You can helping people. Dude, somebody was in the hospital bed making sales and video recording it.
I believe it.
Dude,
Crazy.
So the opportunity is huge, okay?
Yeah.
So let's talk. You can help them with that. Now, if they wanted to build an agency, then they could also recruit people. They can make an override. What does that look like? How does that work?
Yeah, it's a good question. So it's obviously something here we're not forced to do, which is nice because if you just want to sell, you can sell.
I wouldn't be here if we were forced to do it.
Yeah.
I would have ran.
Same. But if you want to build a team, you could build a team too, and that's great because you have to make sure other people are being successful to actually profit something from that as well. So it's not like you're just signing people up and getting a bonus.
Yeah, you don't get paid if they sign up. No. You get paid if they get paid.
Yeah, I lose money when I bring people on.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of like how fast they decide whether it's the right fit for them or not. So it's also building an environment where it's going to push out the people who aren't serious faster, because you can spend a lot of time on people that you shouldn't. Sometimes, you got to make sure you're not more invested in them than they are themselves sometimes, for the right person. But, as far as that goes, I mean, I love when I first started, I was in person in Seattle and I got kind of sick of it, knock on a door. Where's your vax card? Where's your mask? This was around after COVID, right? Yeah. So then I was like, okay, let me just try phone sales. And this is when it was still kind of new in FFL. So the first 6 months was a lot of figuring out what to say and this and that. But I think it's definitely, it works for the right person who's disciplined enough to work from anywhere.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, dude, this is a huge opportunity. You could build a virtual team.
Yeah.
That can work from anywhere.
Yeah. And it's cool too because it's actually easier to train people virtual than it is in person because they could be on the phone with a client and you could literally be the coach in the quarterback's ear guiding them through it,
So car sales, they could do this. They could start part-time if they want to see if it's real.
Yeah.
Real estate sales, which real estate did some funky stuff with commissions that I'm sure is going to affect people or not make their lives easy.
Yeah.
Loan officers, their interest rates are super high. I don't think a bunch of people are getting loans or refinancing.
Yeah,
from what I've heard.
Solar,
California just shut down. Made some regulation that messed solar up.
Yep,
huge opportunity there. Very similar selling styles. Right?
Yeah.
Dude, all this stuff, pest control. Dudes that are door knocking their faces off every day. They could compare. I would at least open up the door to comparing. Or just someone working at the grocery store like I was, or Uber, or whatever. You don't have to have sales experience.
Some of those people have been our best people.
They are, dude.
They're learning from a clean slate.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Yeah, no baggage.
But what attracted me also to life insurance is it's one of the most stable businesses out there.
Yeah.
Not dependent on the economy. It's been around 100 plus years. Financial services right below entertainment, which is I'm not going to the NFL anytime soon, so that's not going to make me rich.
Yeah.
But it makes the most millionaires each year, financial services.
Yeah.
So
I want to fact check that though, because I've heard that, but I do want to fact check that.
Yeah, someone might have paid Forbes to say that. I don't know.
Yeah. But let's talk about the stability. Mutual of Omaha, they were around for the Spanish flu, World War I, World War II, COVID, and some other crazy events that I don't remember.
Yeah.
National Life Group, which I love telling customers, one of their death claims was paid out from someone on the Titanic.
Wow.
So think about dude, the history of these companies and then the regulation of the amount of reserves they have to have in order to stay in business. That way it doesn't collapse.
Yep.
And then the reinsurance that they have to make sure that everybody's covered. And then makes it a really safe, stable industry to be in.
Yeah, that's what I love about it. I mean, this last 3 years since I've been doing this, I've made more money than I've ever made in my life in probably the worst economic time in a while, in my lifetime at least. So when times are good, times are going to be really good for everyone that's really buckled down the last 3 years and have done what they're supposed to do, you know?
That's crazy, dude. Good for you, man.
Yeah.
How'd that feel?
Feels great. It feels great. I like it way more than the car business because the main problem I was having was getting inventory, like at auctions and private party sellers. Because when the economy's bad, people are keeping their same car. They're not going out and buying a new car in most cases, right? So like when I saw that you guys had unlimited leads, I was like, perfect. You know?
Well, dude, I was also like, health has something to do with people wanting to get insurance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people call in, they have a health condition, and then they call in, they're like, I need to get insurance. It makes it really valuable to them at that point in time. But dude, even I was just reading up on the rapid increase of certain diseases in the U.S. It's like, dude, people need insurance.
Yeah.
And our job is literally just to help them get what they want.
Yeah.
With a bunch of companies. We already know. I mean, a bunch of companies that we just get to shop their rate for them that are all well-known, Mutual of Omaha, Transamerica, John Hancock, all these big name companies, and find what works for them.
Yeah. And in most business, I mean, all the money's made in the middle, you know?
And what about how quickly someone can get paid?
Yeah. I mean, 1 to 4 business days. 4 business days max after the policy gets approved and the first premium's drafted.
Yeah.
And you get a 9-month advance on that in most cases. I do tell new people it's a form of an unsecured loan.
Yeah, it is.
So if something happens, then you have to write over that business or pay it back.
Yeah.
You know, me personally, I think it's better just to write over it.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you're not spending any money from your own business bank account for that. So
that's huge. Cool. Well, if you're interested in working with Logan, hit him up on Instagram.
Yep.
And thank you for coming in and sharing, bro. Looking forward to see what you do in the next couple of years.
Thanks for having me.